Hey everybody, welcome back to Palms and Stones. This year we accomplished something incredible. We grew 10,000 apple trees from the ground up. We're going to show you guys the entire process from planting the rootstock to maintaining the nursery, the chip budding and grafting process. This video has it all. I'm putting an entire growing season's worth of videos together right now. Whether you're a farmer, gardener, or just curious about the nursery process, this is the video for you. Let's get farming. For most growers, you go out, you order your trees, they show up, you plant them. But for us, it starts in our own nursery, which we have here today. We go through, we plant our own rootstocks, and then we top work the trees over and let them grow, and then we'll come back and dig them up and replant them. We planted these M106 rootstock for apples that we're going to top work over to Ida Red here in the fall. They planted about 1.5 feet apart and also 9 feet wide. Now to water them, we have some drip tape irrigation that goes in with the trees while we planted them. I have some great footage of that, of the whole planting process that I'll show you guys. And also we have this flat blue hose that you're able to run over, which also ties into the irrigation from this cherry orchard here on the side. So you can tell that the top of the soil looks pretty darn dry, but as we dig down under, you see right away that the drip tape that's in with the roots is keeping the soil perfectly moist. So here I'm going to show you guys a little bit of the nursery planting process. We have 4 guys sitting on the planter with the trees in front of them. We have the drip tape irrigation line that's unrolling from behind them on both sides, followed by a couple of the guys stomping in the trees, making sure they're straight and planted at the correct depth. We planted 10,000 M106 rootstock this day in about 4 hours total, and like I mentioned earlier, how we end up saving more money by doing our own nursery is that we can grow these trees ourselves for 1/3 of the cost as buying them from a different nursery. It's been a couple weeks since we planted them, and we've made a lot of significant progress out here as far as growth and getting things really prepared for the long run of keeping these trees growing. So one of the very first things we did was start to get our electric fence up. We got posts about 40 feet apart, 3 separate wires to it, and that's just in order to keep the deer out, because they will come in here and eat every little bit of new growth that grows on these trees. And so when I'm talking about new growth, you can see here that the shoots have come out where the buds were. Here's a better example. That's all new growth here in the last like 5 days, and that's what we have to keep protected, because this will eventually grow into the trunk, and that's what we'll use in the future. The other 2 major things that we've done so far is that we've weeded down in between the rows with hoeing in order to keep weeds away from these trees. And we do that because we would like to keep competition from taking the nutrients and the water from the soil while we're trying to grow these trees. They need all of the help they can get. And secondly, we've added in a component of rototilling. And so now we're rototilling these rows also to keep grass and weeds down. So amongst some of the things that we've done, we started out by stripping all of the buds down the trunk here of the rootstock in order to make sure that the plant focuses on pushing out on these buds that we're trying to grow upward in order to create our tree. Is it ever really full if you don't try and get the last drops in there without overflowing her a little bit? Wow, that was a pain in the butt to get that first one off. Sheesh, I might have to talk to somebody about that. So I just started rototilling out here, and you know, when stuff stops spinning, you got a big old rock wedged in there. That's not a good start for us. We're finishing up a project that we started way back at the beginning of this channel this spring, probably over a month, 2 months ago, when we planted our 10,000 tree rootstock nursery we have here. We are budding and grafting, taping our nursery into the desired different types of apples that we want. We're gonna do 3 different types here. We're gonna do ambrosia, which we've already finished on this side. And now we're doing our Ida Reds, and then we have regular, kind of a normal Honeycrisp that we're gonna plant here in the middle. So we started this morning going out and cutting the budwood off of some of our own apple trees. And then we bring them back here to the orchard where we trim off the leaves. And then we begin to cut into the trunk of the existing rootstock here on the ground. And then we graft and tape in the bud of the desired apple that we have. Here's a stick of budwood that we cut off from one of our apple trees that we brought out here. Each one of these green bumps on the stick here is, it used to be the stem of a leaf, and then underneath the stem is where the bud is. You can see it's kind of dark on the inside there. So what they do is they cut underneath this and take this whole bud and leaf stem off of this and put it on the ground into the rootstock. I think it's cool that we literally can take one plant, add something to the trunk of it, cut into it, tape it, attach it, and then in a 1.5 years time, you have a 4-foot tall tree that's something completely different than what was originally here. So here's my friend Juan.
Yes.
He's out here cleaning the trunks before the guys start the grafting process, because any dirt will kill the bud if we tape it in with the bud. So we got to get that cleaned off, and he's also pruning off any low branches that will interfere with getting the taping done easily also. We grow our own trees in the nursery, whether it's cherries or apples, because we can grow them for about 1/3 of the cost that it would be to buy them from a different nursery. So that's huge when we're talking, because usually we have like a 40,000 tree nursery. This year it's about 1/4 of that, just about 10,000. When these trees started, they were probably no more than 8 inches tall, and now they've grown up to about 2 to 3 foot, probably 4 foot in some of them. I'll show a little side by side. I took a picture of the nursery before, and then I have some pictures that I had taken today, so I'll put those up so you can see the difference of how much they've grown. We've put some nitrogen on them about once a week, and we have drip tape irrigation down underneath, and we're just letting them grow all summer long until now, where we're starting to bud them over to turn them into the apples that we want. Take a closer look here at what it looks like after they're done. You can see it just above my finger here is where the bud is. The tape goes all the way over it and makes everything nice and tight, airtight. Airtight is important because if it gets air in there, it dries out the bud, and all of this won't take, the tree won't heal over, and it won't start to shoot that bud off that turns into the new apple tree that we're looking for. So it's important we don't get any dirt or air up inside this. That's why we tie these on so tight, like you've seen in some of the footage from before. And there's another one just like that, all the way down. 10,000 trees. About 3 weeks ago, we budded and taped our nursery with 3 different varieties. We did Honeycrisp, Ida Red, and Ambrosia. So now 3.5 weeks have passed, and we've checked a couple of the trunks, and the buds that we grafted and taped are healed up, which I'll show you guys here in a second. And so now we're going to take all the tape off so that the sides of the grafts can start to heal all the way over. And so that's pretty exciting that you can kind of see how quickly a tree heals up a wound. So we'll get a little closer here to one of the buds. You can see here above, right above my finger, is the actual bud. And here's the side of the entire graft. It's from here to here. And it has just healed over. You can tell the bud is green, and that one almost looks like it might start growing. We don't really want them to because they'll have a hard time hardening off here this winter and might cause them to die. So we're gonna try and avoid that by we can't do much to prevent it. It just depends on how vigorous the trees are at the time. We don't really want to keep the water on them too much because that'll continue to promote the growth, but we have such a hot week here of, I think it's 90, 91 today, so we got to keep the trees growing, and it's pretty sandy here in the nursery. So we got the water on here in the blue tube and the drip tape that's down underneath, so we have that running to, you know, keep the trees hydrated, but we don't really want to overwater them because we want them to shut down and not continue to grow. But you can see they're still growing, because here at the top you can see these new leaves are continuing to unravel and come out, which we want that to shut down. So it's going to take these guys a couple days to get all of this tape off. They're doing about 7 trees a minute, depending on how easy the tape cuts. Sometimes it rips, so it takes a little bit longer. More or less 7 to 8 trees a minute, which is still pretty impressive. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon now, and these guys are bent over all day, so it's a lot of hard work. And they do a great job, because if you don't take good care when you cut it, if you nick the trunk or you rip the bud off or touch the bud, they're very volatile, and it won't work, and then we'll have to restart over again this spring. Apples, when you do grafts like this, are actually usually very successful, so we expect a pretty high success rate for grafting all these over. But cherries are a little bit different. We don't have any cherries in this nursery, but we do grow our own cherry trees, and cherries are much less successful, and you end up kind of going through a nursery maybe 2-3 times in order to get, the original number that you were aiming for. Now we just completed our 3rd day here in the nursery. All 10,000 trees are done. I hope everybody that watched learned something today about our nursery process, about how we grew 3 different varieties of apples from scratch. YouTube wants you guys to watch this video next, so please don't forget to like and subscribe to help support the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.